Hello guys, once again my name is Wolford and welcome to One Reason channel. um, Once again we're going to also talk about another another technique under investment appraisal techniques, which last time I think I talked about um, finding the net present value or investment appraisal techniques with inflation. So today we're going to be looking at investment appraisal techniques, and specifically the technique we're looking of or focusing on today is payback period. If you're doing finance or if you're doing economics, I'm sure this shouldn't be a new term, or it's not the first time you might be hearing this. But if it is, then I'm glad to define it for you. So investment appraisal is just the time required for cash flows or your initial capital that you've injected into a project investment to equal the cash outflows, right? Okay, so payback period is a screening technique, and it does not, rather it's a screening technique. Usually you're trying to determine when exactly you might get back the initial investment that you had injected into a project. Like, when is that project going to give back that initial capital that you had injected in? So we'll dive straight into an example. Okay, so say you've got initial capital of say $60,000. That's our initial capital that we're going to inject into this project. Okay, and for the period of 5 years, right? So most of the times they're going to ask you to say, okay, given this initial capital, and they'll give you also the cash flows. They'll ask you to find the payback period, right? So we'll dive quickly or straight into an example. Okay, so example number one. So right here we're going to have a period. Then we're going to have our cash flows, right? Then present value, right? Present value there, or the balance. Let's say the balance. Okay, so having done that, to begin with, we're going to start with year 0, year 1, year 2, year 3, 4, and 5th year. So in year 0, we know that our initial capital is $60,000. Let's just do that so that our currency is There's the dollar there. So in year 0, we know that our initial capital is 60. So you might notice that I've also added brackets to this. This just means that since we're injecting this money into a business, it's in negatives, right? It's negative because it hasn't generated any revenue yet, so it's negative. That's what this means. It means money has been spent or injected into a project with an expectation to generate a return. Okay, so since this is year 0, also they are going to indicate that the balance is still the 60,000 that we've injected. Okay, so now our cash flows are just, so in year 1, let's assume the business generated 50,000. In year 2, the business generated 20,000. In year 3, the business generated 5,000. In year 4, 5,000 also. I'm just assuming these cash flows. So you shouldn't panic on that one. Okay, so having given this, cash flows, right? And given these cash flows, okay, so now at this point, what we want to do is, having been given these cash flows, we are now going to go to year 1, right? So year 1, the business generated 50,000, okay, from the 60 that we injected. So we're going to now subtract, 50,000 as revenue that was, put into the business, minus the 60,000, which is our initial capital. What's the balance? So the balance will still be negative, right? Because our revenue in year 1 is less than our initial capital injection. So the balance will be 10,000. Okay. Then we're being told that the cash flow in year 2 was, or the revenue was 20,000. The business generated $20,000. And so we're now going to subtract the 20,000 minus the balance, right? So it's going to be, or you can just add 20,000 plus the balance. It's the same thing because the balance is in negative, right? It will still give us the same answer. So 20,000 minus 10,000, and we're going to have a positive 10,000. So now you notice that at this point our balance now is in profit, right? Or it's no longer in negatives, right? Because what we had initially injected into the business has been given back, and so the balance has now shifted from negative into a positive, right? So at this point, if you realize the moment your balance moves from negative balance into a positive, that's the period right there trying to tell you that this is when your initial investment is going to be paid back, right? So now you want to be really, really, really sure to say when exactly. So in this case, we're going to go to the year, the year before the positive balance, which is year 1, right? We're going to take that into account to say, okay, year 1, right? Plus, what we're going to do at this point, you've seen this balance, this negative balance before the positive positive balance, you are going to take this negative balance and say 10,000 divided by the cash flow for the following year, which is year 2. The cash flow for the following year, which is year 2. So it's going to be divided by $20,000, right? This is in order to find the exact time. We know it's 1 year plus this, right? This is the exact time that our initial capital that we had injected into a business is going to be paid back. So we want to calculate exactly when. So we know it's 1 year plus this. Okay, so now when we divide our 10,000 divided by 20, this part alone, it's going to give us a 0.5, right? So this 0.5 multiplied by 12 months, right? Because it's in between this time frame, so it's not necessarily a year, right? It's less than a year. And so since in a year we've got 12 months, that's the reason why we're multiplying this 0.5 multiplied by 12 months, right? In order to know exactly how many months plus the 1 year that we've already calculated, or that we've already gotten from our data given there. All right, so 0.5 times 12 months is simply half of that, so this is 6 months. So therefore we know that our payback period is going to be 1 year 6 months. 1 year 6 months. Okay, so that's about the payback period. It's not a very complicated technique. It's very easy. That's one of the advantages. It's very easy to understand. It's very easy to calculate. It tells you when exactly you're likely to receive your initial capital that you had injected into a project or a business, right? Maybe just the downside part of it is that it does not take into account the time value of money, meaning that it doesn't factor in things like inflation, interest rates, those things. It does not take into account time value of money. That's the major downside that the payback period has. But otherwise, this is about the payback period. And so guys, if you've got any questions, any additions that you would like to make, or any other topics that you would like me to talk about or solve, please comment in the comment section. And this will be a good time for you to subscribe to my channel, as well as like, comment and share. Thank you. See you in the next episode.